So, in order to even begin to talk about the process of common sense approaches to getting back to the basics of caring for ourselves and others, we have to understand what it looks like right now before we move into this process, right? So, what it looks like right now is fast food, food in boxes, protocols and detoxes and supplements and modalities and food trends and all of these things that weren't here before. So I want to take a moment and ask you to look back to maybe when your grandmother or your great grandmother was alive and how they lived. How did they live back then? One of my favorite examples when it comes to talking about getting back to the basics is, do you remember when maybe your grandmother was out in the garden and maybe she'd pull a carrot out of the ground that was covered in dirt, or snap a sugar pea or a sweet pea off of the vine and just pop it in her mouth without regard to cleaning and washing it off and making sure it was sanitized? Well, back in the day, that was like one of the most basic things, right? You're out working in the garden, you grab a vegetable, you take a bite, you keep on working. Well, today we don't really have that luxury because our soil has been tampered with and is now toxic. It's been stripped of minerals. We're not getting the same probiotics from the soil that we used to get back then, which was very beneficial. Eating garden vegetables out of the garden was beneficial for our gut microbiome and many other things, right? So today we have to think differently, but not so differently. So maybe we modify that a little bit, right? Getting back to the basics means thinking about what it was like when we ate whole food that looks like what it is for the most part, right? Because of course, meat is going to be processed and some things end up in bags. But also getting back to the basics of remembering what it was like to eat simple. Sometimes people tell me as a health coach, it's so hard to cook gluten free. I don't know how you cook all your foods paleo. How do you manage to do that? It's so difficult. But in reality, it's much easier. I don't have to measure anything. I don't have to worry about additives or adding unhealthy things to the food, thickening the gravies, all of those things that can make food much more complicated. For me, it's just as easy to throw some coconut oil or some butter into a pan, literally take a scissor, cut some vegetables into that pan, add a protein, and I'm ready to eat a whole food meal in less than 10 minutes. So getting back to the basics of things means thinking simply about the things that you put in your mouth, thinking simply about what your sleep environment looks like. Is it dark? Is it cool? Have you brought too many electronics into the room? We're going to be diving into those things, but getting back to the basics means forgetting all of the conveniences and the complicated things that are available to us today and really getting back to the simple way of living life again. So I would never in my life ask a client that is going through a Wendy's drive-through for most of their meals to give all of that up right away and start cooking at home. That would be too stressful, right? But what we can do is take one of those drive-through visits or experiences and maybe replace it with a healthier option. So a low stress approach financially, emotionally, and physically is very important, whether you're the person that is going through on this journey or you are the person that is coaching or helping someone on this journey. It is very important to know that the first essential thing to work on is stress perception. And if we are taking things away from people, or you're being asked to give up all of the things you love and take on a complicated protocol, that is not honoring the first essential, which is to look at things differently, see things differently. Stress perception is very, very important. So I want to encourage you to keep coming back here because I want things to get easier for you. I want things to go back to the basics of how to care for yourself and others in a way that doesn't feel stressful and overwhelming for you. So if this resonates for you, put a comment below. Does it make sense to you as a health and wellness professional to take this approach of making things easier for your clients? And does this make sense to you? And does this feel better to you as that person that's on a health journey that maybe you've been told you have to do a detox, you have to do a cleanse, you have to run 5 days a week. All of these things are necessary for good health. Tell me if this is helping you to feel better about where you are in your business or in your health journey today. We want to hear from you. And again, go out to carmenhunterhealth.com and see what we're up to out there and what we have to offer to you.